history tells us that once a company closed for the first time a quarter with a profit, the company, of course, if it's a good company, tend to perform better in the stock market. And here we have the CrowdStrike example. We have Palantir that started to raise prices on the stock market. It started to grow in stock price once they closed the first quarter in profit. And we also have Tesla. Okay. I don't know if you remember, but exactly 8 months ago, we made a video, and you can find it on our YouTube channel, free shares to buy that maybe we skyrocket. And thanks to the break-even tool, we found free shares. And one of these free shares, guys, it was DoorDash. If we watch what happened to DoorDash, to DoorDash prices, okay, we bought it at the end of 2024 here. And look where is it right now. We bought it not because of technical analysis, not because of something very difficult, but we bought it because the company was nice. And look, for the first time in DoorDash history, in this quarter, the company turned in profit, okay? And we know, because we saw many cases in the past, that this is a trigger that put the company under light, so a lot of investors start to watch and study the company once it turned in profit. And it was the case for example, DoorDash, that turned in profit, as you can see here, and started to have an upward movement, very important upward movement. Okay, in the case of that DoorDash, the company started to rise on the stock market since the 2023, but it's anyway a good buy. Okay, so if we go today to the break-even page, as I told you, this is a very simple tool because it do something very simple. Because you have a list here. Let's go to the United States companies, and as you can see, if you pick one, for example, the first one I would like to talk to you about today, which is Udemy. This tool do something very simple. Look, for the first time, Udemy closed the first quarter with a profit. That's it. And this is why Udemy is in this list. Okay? Very simple. So, in this case, we find a company which is very interesting, because if we turn to annual profit, we can definitely say that sales are growing. Okay. And this is very important, because when we search for company to invest in my opinion, one of the best point we have to respect in order to evaluate an investment is sales growing. A company, if it's good, have growing sales. Net income are important, of course, but in some cases, like we have here in Udemy, the company can also lose money because maybe they are investing a lot in marketing, in research and development, and many other things. But what is important, it's sales growing, because the company need to sell more and more and more year after years. Okay. And this is very interesting because since a few weeks, we have also a new method for calculating the fair value, which is the enterprise value on sales. And this method, it's perfect for this kind of companies. These companies are still losing money, okay? As you can see in the history of Udemy, we only have losses when we talk about net income. And this is why we can use this approach, the enterprise value on sales, in order to calculate the fair value. And here we have a company where the fair value is more than 10, and at the moment the current price is just below 7. Okay, so we have an undervalued company. Very interesting. Okay, and we can scroll down a little bit. We can go to solidity, and red flag, guys, because here we have 0.86 in Alt1 Z-score. Alt1 Z-score, it's a metric that tells us if the company can has a risk of bankruptcy. And in this case, we are in a distress zone. Okay, so I'm not gonna buy this company today because I would like to monitor a little bit the results. Okay, but this is a very interesting company because look, if we also see the results, we can definitely say that sales are growing, but also the loss is improving. Okay, very interesting. If we go to the overview page, we can definitely see something really interesting because look, if we compare the stock price with the net income, we can definitely find a huge gap between the net income and prices is there. And so this could be a really nice opportunity. Okay, it's interesting. It's not the only interesting company. We have to be a little bit careful because this is a company that on the stock market only went down. So I would like to be a little bit more uh, uh, I don't know how to say in English. I would like to be to wait a little bit. I would like to see more, because if we go to the overbought and oversold page, I don't see at the moment on the market mood meter and on the Wyckoff and on the speed, I don't see a strong bullish divergence. Okay, I don't see spike in volume on the lows. Okay, and this is something that suggests me that the prices can go lower. Okay, can go lower, and we can do a better deal if we wait a little bit. But fundamentally speaking, we are in front of a very interesting company, and this is why if we go here in the watch list tool, I just put it this company, Udemy, here inside my break-even watch list. Here it is, together with others company which are very interesting. Okay, here we are. Another interesting one is Varonis. Sorry, Varonis Systems. Okay, why it's interesting? The first point we have to check is sales, guys. Sales must be growing sales. Okay, because for example, if we go here, let's see, for example, this company Upstart for the first time ever closed the quarter with a profit. Okay, look, they closed the quarter with 5 million profit. But if we go here to the annual results, this is not the company I'm interested in, because if you if you watch it, if you watch the performance of the sales, I mean, they are stuck. They are also they are not growing. I mean, what I'm looking for is a company with explosive growth in sales. Okay, this is, in my opinion and in my experience, the trigger for good performance in the stock market. Okay, so for example, I'm not interested in this company, Upstart, even if you can find it in the break-even page. But of course, I already saw all the company, and this one, Varonis, is interesting because, as you can see, the sales are growing, and for the first time, they made a quarter in profit with 52 million in profit. Okay, interesting. We can scroll down a little bit as we did in this previous video, 8 months ago video. We can scroll down a little bit and we can find an interesting situation, guys, because the Alt1 Z score give us a moderate risk of bankruptcy. The Piotrowski score is stable, so we are not we are not in a very performing situation, but it's nice. And these guys, it look like they are not manipulating their earnings thanks to the Benny Shem score. Okay, something interesting, they just started to buy back their own shares, which is something interesting for us shareholders, okay? Because if you take away some shares, if you repurchase some shares from the market, the intrinsic value of the shares that stay outside increase automatically, okay? And this is something interesting because if we go and we see the business of this company, we can just ask to the Forecaster AI agent to explain us in a simple way what the company is doing. They are an IT company. Very interesting. They manage data security, which is something really interesting nowadays. Okay. Very interesting company. The company is performing well, better than the previous one, better than Udemy. And as you can see, we have room. We have room between the net income and the actual price. We have an opportunity. This is a company that, thanks to this little trick we use comparing the net income and prices, this is a company should stay at least at the all-time high. Okay, very, very interesting. If we go and we see the overbought and oversold, we have a situation which is a little bit, we just came from an overbought situation. We have a divergence, a bearish divergence between the market mood meter and prices. So it's very interesting business, very interesting company. But also in this case, like we did for Udemy, I'm waiting. I just put this company inside my watch list, and I will take a look to this company. Here we are, Varonis system. It's in our watch list. Very interesting because look, we have a very high correlation with the 5-year seasonality. We can click it and we can go and we can have a look. And yes, this is what I can expect from this company. If we highlight this period, we can definitely see, look, that in the last 5 years, and 5 year is the seasonality, current prices are moving like with the 87% correlation, we had 60% of positive return for a short trade. Okay, So this is the case. We can wait for a downward movement for buying this company at a lower price. Okay, guys, if you have any question, you have the chat. Please write to me if you have. Oh yes, Frank. Can you show me how you added Udemy to your break-even? Break-even. So this list you can find in the break-even page. This is the tool you have inside the forecaster. This is a list that it's compiled automatically, the forecaster. Of course, if you would like to add a specific company to a specific watch list, here you have this star. Look, very simple. And if you click this star, you can add the company, the shares, the stocks to an existing list, or you can create a new watch list. Very simple. Yes, of course, Earl, you will receive the link with the recorded version of this webinar. Okay. And George, please wait a little bit. I will reply to you very soon. Okay, so also in this case, Varonis, interesting company, but it's in the watch list and we will wait for a better price to enter. Okay. Let's go to another one, the third one, which is MONRO's environmental group. This is, guys, is something really interesting that could be very fancy. And when a company becomes very fancy, you know, we have to pay. We have to pay a premium price. Okay, very interesting. Anyway, the company is growing, sales are growing. Very interesting. The company lost a lot of money in terms of net income in the previous year, but for the first time ever, the company closed a quarter with a profit, which is something really interesting. The business of the company is really interesting because Montrose Environmental, which is in the waste management industry, it's a company that, as I told you, can be fancy because the waste management is something that triggers investor mind. Okay, and of course, very simple. The company has a cleaning up business and waste management, so as a very simple business, by the way. Okay, the company is very interesting because, as you can see here, we had we have a past where the company lost a lot of money, but now, I mean, something is changing, and what's it's very interesting, guys, is this company sales are growing like the hell, and this is something that really make me believe that this company has a very interesting potential. Of course, the net income is getting better. If we go here, as you can see, we just turned in profit. We have to wait a little bit, in my opinion, because also in this case, I don't have strong signal of a bottom. Okay, of course, because we had a very important bottom here, but I think we can definitely wait for better prices in the very in the future. Okay, also in this case, very simple, we can add to break even, and here we are. In our watches, we have also Montrose Environmental Group, which is very interesting because if we go to the fundamental page, we see the company is growing and increasing Altman Z score, that it's still in the red zone, we have a high risk of bankruptcy here, okay? So we have to be very, very cautious, okay? But what is interesting, if we go here to the last transcript of the quarterly result, okay, we can see we had a very strong performance, the EBITDA raised, we also had organic expectation. We have to wait, in my opinion. The company is very, very interesting. It's growing. Also, the TTM, which is trailing 12 month, it's interesting because it's bigger than the last year result, which is something which is a very good sign. It means the company is experiencing a very interesting momentum, okay? But also in this case, we found these opportunities, but I think it's time to wait and wait for better prices, okay? George, how would you use Forecaster to find good Forex buy and sell trades? Very, very simple, George. If you go here, you find the Quantum Screener, which is a very nice tool. You can choose Forex. You can choose the time frame you would like to trade. Could be 1 month, 3 months. Okay. And for example, very simple, here you find the best opportunities on FX. Because look, for example, here in the first row, we find sterling versus Japanese yen. If you click here, you open and you can find, in this case, a very nice trade because the current price for the GBP yen are moving like they did on average in the last 3 years, okay? It means the current year is moving like this yellow line, which is the 3-year seasonality. In the last 3 years, in this specific time frame, we had 100% of positive return with a return of 2.3% on average. Okay, here you find the details for every year. And so this is a very nice tool to use in order to filter the best opportunities. You can find also, for example, Swiss franc versus yen. You can find the euro versus Australian dollar. Look, for example, this is a very interesting short trade because as you can see here, in the last 7 years, in this time frame, you had 85% of winning rate with an average return of 1.4. Okay, so this is a very nice way to use the Forecaster terminal in order to find FX trades. And of course, for example, then you can also use the COT report. If you like to trade on Forex, you will not find the COT report anywhere else than Forecaster on Euro AUD, Australian dollar, because this is a synthetic COT. It means we get the COT for Euro, we get the COT from Australian dollar, and we merge these two data and we create what we call the synthetic COT. And you can find all the data. Okay. So for example, in this case, just to be very quickly, here we have a short trade suggested by the quantum screener, sorry. And by the way, you can also adjust a little bit, like in this case, and you can raise your opportunity, your average return to 1.9. Okay, so very interesting. In this case, we have a short opportunity. If we go to the COT report, we can definitely see, for example, watching the leverage fund, that we have a decreasing net position, and this is something that can confirm the direction for this trade. Okay. By the way, if you go to Forecaster.biz, in this page you can find tutorials, and we have a complete lesson on here, finding opportunities. The lesson number 5 is a complete lesson regarding the quantum screener, and is a video, is a 1 hour video, something like that, where I share all the tools you can use in order to find opportunities. By the way, you can also see the others. For example, if you don't know how to use the COT report, which is something very powerful, we have an entire lesson, and we have lesson for many things.